I think it's fair to say we've got some pretty big rumours to talk over today. Let's jump into it. Guys, welcome back to another video on the channel and to another episode of the Championship Transfer Rumour Roundup. The rumour mill is really heating up now, and some of the rumours that we've got to talk over today's video are absolutely bonkers. As always, if you do go into enjoy, make sure to leave a like. If we can hit 350 likes, that would be massively appreciated. If you've seen any other rumours that we don't mention in today's video as well, get them in the comments down below. So let's start out today's video by going over some managerial news, and that's that Fulham manager Scott Parker is currently being heavily linked with the move to Bournemouth. Now, obviously, with Bournemouth's current situation, Jonathan Woodgate is currently in charge there. As of yet, he's not actually been sacked or anything like that. His future is yet to be resolved. He was on a contract up until the end of the season, and so whatever happens with his contract is expected to be resolved in the next few weeks, whether he is going to be staying on as manager or is going to be going back, sort of being a little bit behind the scenes and coaching and that sort of stuff. But there is clear interest from Bournemouth in bringing in Scott Parker here, but both from a Bournemouth fan and Fulham fan's perspective, I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on this down below. It's been reported that Scott Parker's relationship with the Fulham board has been a little bit fractured, and so this move might not actually be the most surprising of things to happen. So yeah, it'd be really interesting if this does come off. But now let's head over to some completed deals which have gone through in the past few days, starting out with Emi Buendia, who has now finalised a move to Aston Villa after the two clubs have reached an agreement for the fee, which could in the end rise up to around about £40 million with add-ons. We did a video on this the other day. If you've not seen that, make sure to go and check out. I gave my sort of in detail thoughts about Emi Buendia, what the move to Villa would mean for both Norwich and Villa and the player, and we got some really interesting responses to that one as well. What's going to be interesting to see is how Norwich try and go and about replacing that quality, because that's the big void that's left in their squad there. Blackpool have completed the deal for Doncaster defender Reece James. He comes over as quite a versatile option into this squad, can either play as a left back or further up into midfield. Just come off the back of a really successful season with Doncaster where he scored 7 goals. What's interesting is we spoke about this rumour only a few weeks ago in terms of his links to Sheffield Wednesday. Obviously Darren Moore was keen on bringing his former player with him to Wednesday, but Blackpool have beaten them to this deal. Looks like a player who ticks a lot of boxes, has previously played at the level as well, which I think will be important, you know, to get a few more recognised Championship faces into this Blackpool squad. Hull City have completed the deal for Luton Town midfielder George Moncur. He's another player who has Championship experience, which I think is always quite important to bed in a little bit more of when you are a team coming up from League One. One player that's gone the other way from Hull to Luton has been Reece Burke. Really interesting to see how that deal works out, but obviously we spoke about Matheus Pereira recently departing for Luton. Well, they got more defensive cover now in the addition of Reece Burke, who comes over from Hull on the free transfer. One departing Blackpool player who spoke about a couple of videos ago is Ollie Turton. Actually, their longest serving player, is quite versatile in the positions that he can play. Comes in as that cover to Pieper on that right hand side, can play as a centre half as well, and even into midfield if that was to be needed. QPR completed the deal for Charlie Adam after his contract at West Brom had expired. QPR are making moves early on into this window, and with how well they finished last season, could definitely be a team to watch going into next season. And one move that surprised me a little bit is Devante Cole's completed the move to Barnsley. Obviously he had a loan spell at Barnsley all the way back in 2014-15, but yeah, he's coming off the back of an alright season with Motherwell where he scored 11 goals. It's a name I've not heard in quite a few years, but yeah, this one did surprise me a little bit, I can't lie. But guys, those were some of the completed deals which have gone through in the last 5 or so days. Now without any further ado, let's hop into some transfer rumours. So let's start out with the first bonkers transfer rumour that we got to go over today, and that's that Gareth Bale is currently 6-1 on Sky Bet to be joining Cardiff going into next season. Now, Gareth Bale did say towards the end of the season, didn't he, that he has got an idea in his mind about what's going to happen in terms of his future. It's not going to be announced though until after the Euros. Could you imagine the scenes if this was to happen? Albeit a little bit unrealistic. Who knows what's going to happen next with Gareth Bale, to be honest with you. He's quite a hard character to read, isn't he? I think that if he is due to leave Real Madrid, if he gets his contract cancelled there, he'd be due a £5 or £6 million payout or something like that. And this would certainly be sort of like the romantic story for Gareth Bale, you know, to be going back to Wales, maybe try and get Cardiff back up to the Premier League or something like that. As just a fan of the Championship, I would absolutely love to see this happen, albeit it's probably a little bit unrealistic. Fulham have been the latest club to be linked to Newcastle striker Dwight Gale. Now, I think a lot of this depends on what the future holds for Scott Parker and the future for Mitrovic as well. You know, we didn't really see Mitrovic Mitrovic make much of an impact for Fulham last season in the Premier League, albeit his opportunities were a little bit limited in that squad, weren't they? What's that relationship currently like between player and manager? And yeah, Scott Parker's future is definitely going to have a say on what sort of happens with these sort of deals. And one transfer rumour that we did touch on last time, but the rumours are certainly heating up, is Tom Cairney to Sheffield United, obviously potentially with that link up with his former manager. Now the real sticking point in this deal is the fact that Cairney's 30. I think he's still got 2 or 3 years left in his contract, and Fulham would be demanding around about £10 million for his services. Don't get me wrong, Tom Cairney would walk straight into that Sheffield United side and he'd be one of the best players in the Championship, like he always is when he's playing at this level. In terms of those defence splitting passes from midfield, no one does it better than him at this level. But do Sheffield United see the long-term value in investing that much money in someone like Cairney? I'm not too sure. Former QPR winger OSAYI-SAMUEL could already be angling for a move away from Fenerbahce. Obviously, he made the move over in January after signing a pre-contract with the club. However, it is currently being reported that the player could be looking for a move back to England or potentially Scotland, with both Celtic and Rangers interested. Or one Championship club who I think he'd be a really good fit at would be someone like Sheffield United. I think they're in need of genuine wingers and someone with a bit of pace and trickery, you know, with the way that Jukanovic likes to play football. It's the obvious area where they need to address. From OSAYI-SAMUEL's time in the Championship, he was by far and away one of the best dribblers in terms of successful dribbles completed per 90. He was absolutely electric with the ball at his feet, and at only 23 years old, he's someone who I think that there's a lot of value to be had there. There have also been a host of clubs interested in Stoke City midfielder Sam Clucas. I believe he's still got 1 year left on his current deal, with Sheffield United, Blackburn, Nottingham Forest and Millwall all considering the Stoke midfielder. Now the problem that Stoke have really is that Clucas is by far and away one of their highest earners, and they're looking to have a bit of a clear out in that direction. Obviously, we've seen as the years have gone on with Stoke in the Championship, those sort of big earners from, you know, when they were giving out those silly contracts have slowly started to get off the wage bill. Clucas is definitely one of Stoke's more talented players, but if it comes down to a financial issue, they may have no other choice but to sell him. Matheus Pereira has been linked to both Nottingham Forest and Swansea. When it comes to Nottingham Forest, I feel like they've walked into this trap all too many times as of late. When they're looking for sort of short-term solutions, you know, they dip into the over 30s market for a quick fix to a position between now and then. Forest could just see more value in investing in some younger players and having a bit more of a settled squad over the years in terms of having complete wholesale changes year upon year. Swansea City have been linked to French striker Thomas Henry. He's just coming off the back of a fantastic season in the Belgium League where he scored 21 goals. However, it is also being reported that the striker may be out of Swansea's price range this summer, with the deal potentially costing too much. Obviously, they're on the hunt now for that replacement for Ayew, and who's going to go ahead and replace his goal. Middlesbrough are interested in Luton Town midfielder Pele Rulikampanzu, who will be available on a free contract should he not sign a contract extension with Luton. Luton have offered him a new deal, however it's now up to the player whether he signs or not for them. There is the feeling with Luton at the moment they are having quite the squad refresh in terms of those players who have been with them, you know, since the League One days. We've already seen some pretty big names from that dressing room move on, the likes of the Collinses and the Matty Pearsons as well. But Mpanzu especially, I'd be pretty sad to see leave Luton. You know, he's been with them throughout this complete journey, you know, from non-league to the Championship. Good box-to-box midfielder though, and has certainly proved himself at this level. And winger Yannick Bolasie also appears to be edging closer to a permanent move to the Riverside. Had a good loan spell out there in the second half of the season, certainly gives Middlesbrough something a little bit different, and yeah, would be a good option on the permanent. Middlesbrough have also been one Championship club mentioned in contention for Nottingham Forest striker Lyle Taylor. Be interested to see what Forest plans are with Lyle Taylor after not having the greatest of debut seasons there. His opportunities at times were a little bit limited. Obviously, Forest haven't exactly been the most creative side in the league this past season, but their strikers, none of them were really firing on all cylinders, were they? The Championship clubs who have been mentioned have been Middlesbrough, Blackburn and Barnsley. The latest news coming out of West Brom is that Matheus Pereira's agent is currently on the lookout and in negotiations with a few Premier League clubs trying to get something sorted out for his player. Obviously, if Pereira was to stay with West Brom in the Championship, it would pretty much be the equivalent of what Buendia has just done last season with Norwich. You know, a player who's more than proved himself at this level so far and has already proved himself to be good enough for the Premier League. Leeds United were one club who his agent did speak to, but it looks as if Leeds aren't going to follow up on that interest. There's also going to be quite a few Premier League clubs in for Sam Johnson. Obviously, he made his debut for England the other day, and what a save he made in that game, by the way. But yeah, after the season that he's just had with West Brom, as he made more saves than any other Premier League goalkeeper last year, understandably so, there's going to be a little bit of interest. Watford were one club who were interested in the goalkeeper, or reported to be, but that has since been denied. Kyle Lafferty is being being linked around the Championship at the moment. He is currently a free agent. Honestly, I'm not all too sure about this one either. The likes of Birmingham, Derby, and I think Cardiff as well have all been mentioned with the striker. He's coming off the back of a good season with Kilmarnock. In 13 games, he scored 13 goals for them in all comps. I think he signed in February. But yeah, with the striker's previous record at this sort of level, he's 33 now, doesn't exactly scream ambition. Newcastle's Matty Longstaff has been linked with a loan move to Derby County. I think they were linked with him in January as well, weren't they? You do have the feeling that Derby are going to be relying on loan deals and free transfers once again, and probably one thing that really does have going his way is he does have connections in the game with this sort of thing. Michael Preston North End are hopeful of pursuing a deal for goalkeeper Daniel Iversen. I would be absolutely over the moon if we were able to get him back on loan for another season. You know, I wasn't really all too optimistic about getting him back on loan for next season after how well he actually did for us last season. I think he was the 5th best goalkeeper in the Championship last season in terms of save percentage. A really impressive statistic given the defence he had playing in front of him at times was absolutely all over the place. So yeah, I'd be absolutely delighted if we did get that deal done. Blackburn Rovers are said to be one of the Championship clubs who are most interested in Barnsley midfielder Alex Moe at this point in time. Obviously, the Barnsley captain is still yet to resolve his future with Barnsley, with a contract offer on the table, but he's still yet to sign anything. Now, Blackburn do have a bit of a hole in their midfield at the moment after the departure of Lewis Holtby, and Alex Moe on a free transfer would be serious business by anyone that does get that one done. QPR have been linked to Ipswich Town midfielder Andre Dazelle. This one would be quite a promising bit of business actually. QPR obviously will want to keep that balance in their squad of sort of meshing together experience and youth. He comes in as a 22-year-old midfielder who's quite a well-rounded player altogether really. He averages around 1.5 key passes, tackles and interceptions per 90, and at his age will be a really nice option in that midfield. Sticking with QPR, Elias Chair has been linked to a couple of Premier League clubs, with both Watford and Norwich being mentioned in the conversation. Now, I don't think he'll come cheap with QPR, potentially wanting upwards of around 12 to 15 million. His creative stats in this season just gone by though were really impressive, so it's no surprise to see those sort of links. Birmingham have been linked to AFC Wimbledon striker Joe Pigott. He's coming off the back of a fantastic goal scoring season with 22 goals in all competitions. Looks to be someone in a similar mould to Lukas Djukovic, you know, 6'2" striker. Birmingham have had a few links so far to these sort of strikers. But guys, there we have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video and today's episode of the Championship Transfer Rumour Roundup. As always, if you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Your support on these videos so far have been absolutely fantastic to see, so do keep that up and I'll keep them coming out. As well as that, make sure to stick around and subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks for sticking around and I'll see you all in the next one.